Welcome back to Tyson Retires, the channel where we turn confusing retirement rules into simple, actionable decisions. If you're new here, I'm helping people like you build a retirement plan that doesn't just maximize a single number on a page, but actually maximizes your life. And few areas of retirement planning create more confusion or more expensive mistakes than Social Security spousal benefits. So today, we're going step by step. By the end of this video, you'll know who actually qualifies for a spousal benefit, how much you can receive, what happens if the higher earner claims early, and the one rule that trips up almost every couple. Let's start with the basics. Segment 1. The 2 ways to claim Social Security. When it's time to file for Social Security, you're really choosing between 2 paths. Path 1 is your own retirement benefit. This is built from your personal earnings history. Specifically, the Social Security Administration looks at your highest 35 years of earnings to calculate what's called your primary insurance amount, or PIA. That PIA is the benefit you're entitled to at your full retirement age, which for most people today falls between 66 and 67. Path 2 is a spousal benefit. This exists for people who either didn't work much, took time off to raise a family, or simply have a lower earnings record than their spouse. Instead of basing your check on your own work history, it's based on your spouse's record. Here's who qualifies. Currently married? You're eligible for a spousal benefit as long as you've been married at least 1 year. Divorced? You can still claim off an ex-spouse's record, but only if that marriage lasted at least 10 years. Widowed? That's actually a different, more generous category called a survivor benefit, which we're not covering today, that deserves its own video. So if you're married for at least a year, and your earnings history is weaker than your spouse's, the spousal benefit is likely your best path. Now let's talk numbers. Segment 2. How much is a spousal benefit worth? The maximum spousal benefit is 50% of your spouse's primary insurance amount, their benefit at full retirement age, not a penny more. Let's use an example. Say the higher earning spouse, we'll call him the primary earner, has a full retirement age benefit of $2,000 a month. If the other spouse never worked and has zero earnings record, that spouse can claim up to $1,000 a month once both reach full retirement age. That's the full 50%. Now here's a detail most people miss. Delayed retirement credits do not apply to spousal benefits. If the primary earner decides to delay claiming past full retirement age, say, all the way to 70, their own check grows. In our example, that $2,000 benefit might grow to roughly $2,480 by age 70 thanks to delayed credits. But the spouse's benefit doesn't grow with it. The spousal benefit stays locked at 50% of the full retirement age amount, in this case still $1,000 a month, even if the primary earner waited until 70. Delaying helps the primary earner's own check. It does nothing extra for the spouse's check. That's a really important distinction because a lot of couples assume if we both wait longer, both checks get bigger. That's true for the primary earner. It is not true for the spouse collecting off their record. Segment 3. The rule that surprises everyone. You can't collect until they collect. Here's a rule that catches a lot of people off guard. The spouse cannot claim a spousal benefit until the primary earner has actually filed for their own benefit. So imagine both spouses are 67, but the primary earner decides to wait until 70 to file, chasing those delayed credits. Great strategy for their own check, but it means the other spouse cannot start collecting a spousal benefit yet either, even if they themselves are already past full retirement age. There used to be a workaround called file and suspend, where the primary earner could technically file, which opened the door for the spouse to claim and then suspend their own payments to keep earning delayed credits. That loophole was closed years ago. It no longer exists. So today, the rule is simple. No filing, no spousal benefit, regardless of either spouse's age. Segment 4. Your own benefit plus the excess spousal amount. This next part sounds like a technicality, but it can meaningfully change your strategy. Technically, when you claim a spousal benefit, you are not receiving a separate standalone check. You're receiving your own retirement benefit plus an excess spousal amount that tops you up to the 50% maximum. Let's go back to our example. Primary earner's full retirement age benefit is $2,000 per month, so 50% is $1,000. If the other spouse has $0 of their own earnings record, they get $0, their own, plus $1,000, excess spousal, equals $1,000 total. Now change the scenario. Say the other spouse actually worked some years and has their own benefit of $600 per month. In that case, they'd receive $600, their own, plus $400, excess spousal, equals $1,000 total. Same final number either way. So why does this matter? Because of that earlier rule, you can't collect a spousal benefit until your spouse files. If the primary earner delays to age 70, a spouse with $0 of their own record gets nothing in the meantime. But a spouse with their own $600 benefit can start collecting that portion at their own full retirement age, and then simply add the excess spousal amount once the primary earner files. In other words, having even a modest earnings record of your own can mean the difference between waiting years for any income at all versus receiving a partial check the whole time. Segment 5. The big question. What if the primary earner claims early? Now let's get to the scenario that trips up more couples than almost anything else in Social Security planning. What happens to the spousal benefit if the primary earner claims early, say at 62 instead of their full retirement age? Let's build a real example, similar to a question I get all the time from listeners. Picture a couple. The husband is the primary earner, currently 52. His full retirement age benefit at 67 is $3,654 per month. But he's considering claiming early at 62, which, due to the early filing reduction, would drop his benefit to $2,540 per month. His wife, currently 50, was a stay-at-home parent for most of their marriage, so she'll be relying on a spousal benefit rather than her own earnings record. Here's his question, and it's a great one. If I claim early at 62 and lock in that reduced $2,540 benefit, does that also reduce what my wife is eligible for, even if she waits until her own full retirement age to claim? Here's the answer, and it's genuinely good news. Spousal benefits are always based on the primary earner's full retirement age amount, not whatever reduced or increased amount they actually end up collecting. So in this example, even though the husband claims early and receives the reduced $2,540, if the wife waits until her own full retirement age of 67 to claim her spousal benefit, she is still eligible for 50% of his full $3,654 figure, which comes out to $1,827 per month, not 50% of his reduced $2,540 check. That means her spousal benefit is completely unaffected by his decision to claim early. His early claim only reduces his own check. Her benefit calculation is entirely driven by her claiming age relative to her full retirement age. Segment 6. What if the spouse claims early instead? Of course, the reverse question matters too. What if the spouse, the one collecting the spousal benefit, decides to claim before their own full retirement age? Just like your own retirement benefit, claiming a spousal benefit early comes with a permanent reduction. Here's roughly how that reduction works, assuming a full retirement age of 67. Claim up to 3 years early, age 64, 66. The reduction is approximately 8.3% per year, prorated monthly. So claiming exactly 1 year early costs you about 8.3%. 2 years early costs roughly 16.6%, and 3 years early costs around 25%. Claim more than 3 years early, age 62, 63. The reduction rate drops to about 5% per year for those additional years. So the earliest a spousal benefit can start is age 62, but claiming that early locks in a meaningfully smaller check for life. The key takeaway across both scenarios: your spousal benefit reduction is based on your own claiming age relative to your own full retirement age, completely separate from when your spouse claims their own benefit. 2 independent decisions, 2 independent reductions. That's the mental model to hold on to. Segment 7. Why maximizing the number isn't the same as maximizing your plan. Now, before you run off and build a spreadsheet trying to squeeze the absolute maximum lifetime dollar amount out of Social Security, I want to offer an important caution. It's tempting to treat this purely as a math problem. Plug in life expectancy assumptions, run the numbers, and pick whichever claiming age produces the highest total income. But retirement planning doesn't happen in a vacuum. The optimal claiming strategy on paper might mean drawing down your investment portfolio more aggressively in your 60s, taking on more tax exposure in certain years, ignoring what actually feels comfortable to you and your spouse. The real goal isn't just maximizing a Social Security number, it's maximizing your plan. how Social Security interacts with your withdrawals, your taxes, your portfolio longevity, and your peace of mind. Sometimes the mathematically optimal claiming age isn't the right choice once you factor in the whole picture. That's why a claiming strategy should never be decided in isolation. It should be one piece of a coordinated retirement income plan. Recap: the 5 things to remember. Let's bring it all together. Here are the 5 things to walk away with. Spousal benefits max out at 50% of the primary earner's full retirement age benefit, not their actual collected amount. Delayed retirement credits never boost a spousal benefit. Only the primary earner's own check grows by waiting. You can't collect a spousal benefit until your spouse has actually filed for their own benefit. Your spousal benefit is really your own benefit plus a top-up, which matters if you have any earnings record of your own. The primary earner claiming early does not shrink the spouse's benefit. As long as the spouse waits until their own full retirement age, they still get 50% of the full, unreduced amount. If this helped clear up spousal benefits for you, do me a favor, hit subscribe, because we're covering survivor benefits, the widow's rule, and how to build a full retirement income plan in upcoming videos on Tyson Retires. Drop a comment below with your own claiming age scenario. I read every single one, and it might become the topic of a future video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.